The other piece of Marvel Entertainment, obviously, to cover is the new episode of What If. Look, I think that there's been a recent trend in the What If episodes that hasn't been too appealing to me. And that's sort of making these What If episodes almost like part ones of certain arcs and then leaving them open-ended, which I'm going to assume is intentional so that you can have a big team up at the end of the series, which is what I think is going to happen with Strange Supreme, with T'Challa Star-Lord, with I think probably... let's see. Well, so with Captain Carter from episode 1, T'Challa Star-Lord from episode 2, episode 3, I don't think anybody's gonna come over. I could be wrong about that. Episode 4, Strange Supreme. Episode 5, I don't think so. And then episode 6, probably Killmonger is gonna come in there as well. That being said, what it ends up doing is making each individual episode not that satisfying to me. I think that what saved Doctor Strange's episode is that you had closure, right? Like, I think you compare something like Avengers Infinity War and Loki, where at the end of the day, like, the bad guy basically wins. With He Who Remains, I mean, he dies, but that's kind of what he wanted at the end of the day. And then obviously Thanos snapping his fingers. But what you have different there, in my opinion, is that in Avengers Infinity War, it had a sense of closure. It had a sense of Thanos' plan coming to fruition. What I think Loki failed to do is realize, like, yeah, I mean, Kang's plan came to fruition, but this wasn't a Kang story. It was a Loki story. And Infinity War was really a Thanos story. If it was a Tony story, you had to kind of make Tony's arc come to fruition, but it was a Thanos story. And so what I'm noticing here with these past few episodes of What If is, like, they're just leaving them kind of randomly open-ended. And it's fine if you do that to a certain point, but at least you sort of have to begin teasing a crossover to get people invested. And at this point, all you're doing is just giving them like 75% of an actual full anthology episode. And this episode was no different. Like, again, I don't think that this episode was bad. I didn't think last week's episode was bad. I just think that they're weak, if that makes sense. I think that Michael B. Jordan, as always, does a great job with the role of Eric Killmonger. I say he always does a great job. He's only been in one other thing, but he did a phenomenal job in Black Panther. But he does a great job here. I think the actor who plays Tony Stark also does a good job. And Pepper Potts, I think she's fine. The actress who fills in for the voice. You have Don Cheadle returning. You have Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, coming back for this episode. I'm sure he's going to come back for 1 or 2 more episodes as well. Who else was there? You have most of the Wakandans coming back. Denai Guerrera, I think John Canny is the one who plays T'Chaka. I think that, like, the voice casting in general is very solid, and I'm not disappointed by that at all. What I'm most not disappointed about, just what doesn't really grab my interest is, like, yes, you're having a natural progression in the what if kind of a scenario of, like, oh yeah, what if this were to happen? And it's fun to see that natural progression of, like, okay, so, Killmonger saves Tony. He was in Afghanistan at the time. And then he saves Tony. He befriends Tony. He kind of works his way up the ranks, and then he starts fighting for his own cause. Like, that stuff is interesting to me intrinsically, because I love going down the rabbit hole of canon and, like, what would have happened if this happened. Like, I made a couple videos about what ifs already. I love going down the rabbit hole. It's such a fun process. But I think in terms of actual storytelling, what differentiates, their episodes and my YouTube videos and other people's YouTube videos about what if is that I'm not here trying to make a satisfying narrative per se. When I construct my what if the other half of the MCU does it instead, I'm just trying to, like, logically follow that pattern into fruition. Which is not, I don't think, a winning formula for actual storytelling. Because you actually have to tell a story. You have to kind of, get an arc and make it satisfying and compelling enough. And what I feel like these past couple episodes of What If is that, I mean, yes, logically Thanos would be a zombie, and you missed out on the last 20% of that episode, which is annoying. And yes, Killmonger would probably be in charge of Wakanda, but, like, what's the point? I feel like I'm missing the point of it almost. It was cool to see. It actually, the ending of this episode almost reminded me of Thor, the first Thor movie, where, Loki is conniving and scheming, and basically just to say, hey, look, Odin, Dad, I saved your life. It's been tried and true. They did it with The Incredibles. They did it with Spider-Man Far From Home. It's a tried and true superhero action fantasy trope. But it wasn't that inspired here. Like, I could see that coming from a mile away. Like, Killmonger being like, yep, I am the hero of Wakanda, and I'm going to save you all. I don't know. I didn't see anything compelling from this episode, to be honest. Like, other than him killing literally everybody that we care and love about in the MCU, which has been a trend in the past few episodes. I don't know if they're just doing that for fun. Like, since starting in episode 3, they've just been killing, like, everybody in the MCU, which, okay, take that for what you will, I suppose. But yeah, look, I don't know. I think that What If is a show that has promise. The visual style, I think, is starting to grow on me a little bit more. I kind of wish they went 3D animated a little bit, although I don't know how that would look, how good that would look. Maybe it would look terrible for the MCU. It looks great for Star Wars, I'll tell you that, but maybe it will look just terrible for the MCU. But anyways, I wish that this show had more of a point than it does, and I'm sure by the time episodes 9 and 10 are going to come around, it's going to be like, we do have a point. Look, we have a point. We have a couple more episodes to go. Like, we have an Ultron episode, we have a Party Thor episode, a Gamora Thanos episode. I'm going to assume that, in some capacity, that's going to be episode 7, 8, and 9. There's going to be a team up at the end of episode 10 or something. I just wish this show had a point, more so than just being like, oh, look, the multiverse, and we're actually canon, but you're kind of not, but you are kind of canon, because in the same way that, like, Venom is probably going to be canon soon, and Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 is going to be canon soon. In that weird kind of tangential way, because other than that, I don't really have a reason to care. Like, on Wednesday mornings, if I don't have anything to do, I'll obviously pop in the What If episode and turn it on and watch it, because I'm an MCU fan and it's 30 minutes long, so it's not like it's 6 hours of binging or anything. But if it was up to me and it was like 10 hours of binging, I don't know how far I would get into the episode before getting, like, how far I would get into the series before shutting it off, to be honest. Like, you kind of have to think about it like that, about how engaging something is. A show like one of my favorite shows, Stranger Things, they drop an entire season, I'm there for it. I'm like watching, I'm on the edge of my seat watching these kinds of episodes. But a show like What If they were to drop it all at once, I would just be like, yeah, probably not going to watch it towards the end. I know people who I've been encouraging to watch the other shows, who have loved the other shows like WandaVision, Falcon, and Loki, who I kind of tried to get them to watch these episodes of What If, and they're not that on board, to be quite honest. They're just like, yeah, maybe. And some of them aren't really watching them. I think that the callbacks are really fun for these episodes. I think going back to see Ulysses Claw again, in the shipyard, and I think going to Wakanda again, sort of playing at the same beats of killing Claw and bringing him to Wakanda. Killing T'Challa, that hurt, for obvious reasons. That was painful to watch. But again, I'm not super on board with What If, is all I'm gonna say about that, because I don't understand how this is any more than just filler in between TV series and movies. And if it's just gonna be filler, honestly, just drop the whole thing at once. Like, I don't think you need Marvel. You don't need to have content every single week. People are gonna watch Eternals whether or not there was a What If episode the week before. So I'm not sure how to feel. Maybe my mind will be completely changed by the time we get to the finale. I doubt it, but we'll see about that. I'll keep an open mind, and I'll keep obviously watching the episodes. I'm excited for the Ultron episode, even though James Spader, I don't think, is coming back to voice Ultron, but I'm excited for that because I think that has a lot of potential to be really interesting as well. So that's that on What If.